Hi everybody, I'm going to walk you through the hands-on intervention unit that's due in Module 15 to give you an idea of what's expected. So I'm looking in Module 15 right now at the description that is there for the assignment. And this description is very similar, or should be the same basically, as what you're going to see when you open up the document. So I'm going to walk you through this part first and then we'll open up the document and go from there. At the beginning of your intervention unit, you're going to describe specifically either a student that you're thinking about. So for those of you that are in the classroom right now and you've got a student that you want to support, that you think several activities and a hands-on intervention unit would help, then I want you to describe that student, of course keeping confidentiality. And if you're choosing a specific student, then you can use their present levels and IEP goals if those are applicable to describe the student. I'm going to kind of flip back and forth here just a little bit. So this same information can be found in the scoring guide that's right there in the assignment. And when you scroll down at the bottom of the assignment, there's a template. So if you're looking at a specific student, then you would include their information here. So you might say KW is a 5th grade student and go on to describe them. If you aren't with, caps lock, students now, then I would recommend that you take the info from the K-TIP lesson plan that talks about supporting students with cognitive, behavioral, learning, sensory issues. And I want you to go ahead and choose 3 or 4 specific disabilities within that description that you can use to describe. So you're basically saying, you know, if I have a student in my classroom who has these cognitive needs and they display these behaviors and they have these sensory supports that are needed. So tell me about this student or students in this classroom that you would have. And again, if you're in a real classroom, an actual classroom with live students, then go ahead and tell me about those students. Or if you are going ahead and kind of creating a student, you can either use just some of the general characteristics that I've given in the K-TIP lesson plan, or you can use one of the students that are in the IEP examples that I've given you. So you're going to need to include that information and make sure that in this section you are using positive and goal-driven language. So just what we talked about with the IEP present levels, make sure that you're not saying the student doesn't, can't, or won't, but instead you're saying the student currently is able to do X, Y, and Z in the classroom, and we're working on X, Y, and Z. All right, so now that you've kind of decided about the student that you or students that you are targeting, and it can be more than one, then you are going to describe some activities. This unit calls for 10 different activities, and these can be hands-on, they can be games, they can be specific teaching methods that you're going to use. To find these activities, I recommend for sure that you use your 2 textbooks, and you can also use the advanced organizers / data catchers that we've been doing each week. You can use other activities that you found online, other books that you have, but you want to be sure to use your resources. And you're going to focus this intervention unit on a specific skill. So notice here that I've given you some examples, like being able to read or identify words with the SH sound, students being able to write their name, count coins, use a picture schedule for a work task. You just want to choose an activity like telling time to the hour or using the restroom independently. And that's a big skill, so you might want to break that down into turning the water on independently. But break down that activity. And then for each of these 10 activities, what you're going to do is just describe that activity to me as if I'm going to be a substitute in your room and I need to do a hands-on intervention with your student. So if we flip back to this template, you'll notice that I've already given you a template for all 10 activities. And what I'm expecting you to include is a detailed description of the activity. So you're going to name it here. I'm going to do an SH board game to identify words with the SH sound. And maybe for the description and directions, I'm going to see link, and I'm going to attach a link to a pay teachers activity that I found. But I'm going to give the live link there, and then I'm going to just step by step tell the directions. First, number 1, copy game to cut out game pieces, and just step by step go through that. If there is an activity like the Teachers Pay Teachers would have an activity, I could copy the file here. So you can insert a picture of what it looks like. If it's something that you're creating, or a picture schedule. So if you don't have an exact picture of what this activity looks like, then you can always describe what it is that you're going to be doing if that's different than what is in the box above. Every activity that you are going to do needs some kind of an assessment tool, and this can be a data sheet that you create. This can be something that's already created. It could be a rubric. It could be a scoring guide. It could be really any kind of sheet that you would use to track a student's progress. So it can be correct and incorrect data sheet. It could be broken out into single steps. I'm going to give the reference. So for this one, if it's a Teachers Pay Teachers activity, I'm just going to copy that link down there. If I got it from one of our class books, I'm going to include that here. If it came from a data catcher, I'm going to put that here. And then I want you to, as usual, self-score for yourself. Did you earn all the points? And if not, then write that score down accordingly, and make sure you have all 10 activities filled out. So you will actually just upload this document directly back into Blackboard, and if you have a file that's too big that you can't copy and paste into these little boxes, you can either add it at the end, or you can say see attached file, and you can attach other documents if you would prefer. So far we've talked about the breakdown of what's going on in these activities. So the things that we didn't mention are those 10 activities have to be a variety. So it can't all be a game board that you're going to use. It can't all be bingo. It's going to have to be some differentiation and variation in your activities. You're going to need to incorporate more than 3 types of technology, and this can be as part of the actual game or activity the students are going to do, and it can also be in the assessment of skills. If you are doing a skill like tying your shoe and you're using a task analysis, that task analysis could be the assessment for all 10 activities. So do what makes sense. Don't feel like you are doing tying shoes and you feel like you have to make 10 different kinds of assessment. Absolutely not. One kind of assessment is fine if it meets the needs of multiple activities. Just make sure that the assessment that you're tying to that activity matches the activity. And then the other criterion is make sure that you're using at least 2 activities that come from the textbooks. So if you're doing an activity with tying your shoe and you can't find an exact match in your textbooks, then go ahead and you can use your textbooks as a pre-assessment to say, I completed this part assessment from our book and it let me know that this was a skill I needed to target. You can look at extension skills. If we're working on tying our shoes, we know that fine motor is something we want to work on. So here's 2 additional activities I might do to support fine motor skills. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know, and I'd be glad to help you with that. The sooner you start thinking about and putting together your 10 activities, the better off you will be at making sure you feel comfortable and have incorporated all of the different elements that are required here. I'm hoping that you choose a topic that is relevant to your teaching and is useful. I don't believe in doing activities for activity's sakes, but I'm really hoping you build a fantastic unit that you could use if you don't already have a job to get a job, and show that you can really focus on individual student needs. If you're in the classroom, I'm hoping you choose to build a unit that will really support a student in your classroom. Again, I'm happy to help, so just let me know. I hope you enjoy this unit.